Thanks, Mr. Rao. A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm really glad that we are having these series of webinars to be able to share with you some of the work that is happening in the different centers of excellence. Some of you we get a chance to interact with on various issues, but what we want to try and do is to be able to give you a more holistic picture of the activities that are currently ongoing under the Food and Agriculture Center of Excellence. So we can act as your support system at any given point in time, wherever you have, whether there are issues related to policy, whether there are really services that you want to take out to your members, projects that you would like to structure with government. Please feel free to reach out to me and my colleagues at FACE so that we are able to support you. This is even more important in agriculture because agriculture is a state subject. So while policy is framed here at the center with the central government, the implementation and manifestation actually takes place in the states. And so each of you have a very, very critical role to play in terms of feeding back to us what is going on in the specific states and the issues that you are facing so that we're able to represent your case more effectively here. So what we will do at this stage is I will walk you through the slides, taking you through a brief presentation about the center. As you have questions, please feel free to type them in so that at the end of the session we can then actually talk through those specifically. In case if there is something pressing, do let us know, and we could even take questions during the course as might be required. Right. So with that, just give me one moment. I'm just going to shut off a few screens and make it simpler for us to be able to interact. Right. Okay, so very briefly, CII has obviously been doing a lot of work in agriculture right from the beginning and also been doing a lot of work in the food processing sector. Now, what was very important to recognize is that, you cannot see these two sectors in isolation. And if we have to be able to make a meaningful contribution as CII within this sector, we will have to look at both agriculture and food as one area. So this is also extremely important when you look at policies related to food processing, for instance, and you want, for example, a food processing company to be able to buy fruits and vegetables from local markets. They suddenly fall under the purview of the Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee Act, and hence they enter the domain of agriculture. So you have to realize that you have to see the two pieces together. And this was really the vision and sort of the foundation of us building this Food and Agriculture Center of Excellence. So briefly, the objectives of the center. As we looked at it, the center works closely with farmers, works closely with industry and companies, developmental institutions. And when I say developmental institutions, these could be organizations which are donor organizations like the Bill Gates Foundation, it could be USAID or other local non-governmental organizations, and the government, primarily with threefold objectives. One, focusing on improving on and off-farm productivity. And this is primarily by using technology as a catalyst. So how do we create a facilitative environment of introducing new technology so that we can actually see a benefit on farm in terms of productivity? Similarly, when we say off farm, what I'm referring to is all the items you hear about: cold chain, infrastructure, warehousing, logistics, where today there is a plethora of opportunities and technology which can help reduce wastage, improve shelf life, and bring more stability in the prices that consumers pay. So technology forms one of the backbones of the interventions that we actually recommend. The second, of course, is to look at capacity building and training, and I will talk specifically about the training programs that FACE offers. So you can share this with members. And if there is in your states, specific programs that your membership might need, please feel free to share those with us. We can also work on building custom programs with local partners so that you have services to take back to industry in your states. And then the final piece is really to look at how we strengthen linkages across the entire value chain. And unless you don't look at this as one composite value chain, we're not really going to be able to define the services that are required in this space. So while FACE has been in operation for about the last 2.5 years, starting 2011, it formally got launched in December 2012. Some of you may have been part of this. It was launched by the President of India at the time. And at the time when President Adi Godrej was also President CII. The chairman of the center is Mr. Hari Bhartia, past president of CII, and he acts as the chairman of the governing council of the center. So looking at the overall mandate of what we do, and there's a structure that works along with him to guide us on the services that we offer. We have a four-pronged service portfolio. The first is in the area of research and policy. Now, all of you are engaged in taking policy recommendations to government, right? And that is what we do at CII. But what the center is trying to do is to support your recommendations with certain data and evidence. So, for instance, if you go and advocate with the government that, let fruits and vegetables which are currently in the APMC Act be delisted. So, let farmers have the freedom to go and sell these directly to private sector. Often the question that we get asked is, how will that really help? Has that really helped? Has more investment come into the state? Have farmers got better prices? Have consumers got lower prices? And we very often don't have answers, right? Because we do not have data. So an example of what we're currently working on is a study called, a study on the APMC Act, which is being led by Kaveri Ganguly over here, who is part of the Food and Agriculture Center. And some of you might have liaised with her on policy-related issues. But you should, if you haven't, to reach out to her in terms of any support that you might need. So this particular study looks at 4 or 5 states and actually doing surveys within the mandis in those states, talking to traders, commission agents, farmers, and industry to identify what the obstacles are, so that when we make a recommendation to the government, we are far more informed. So this is just one example, for instance, of the services that are offered. The second is undertaking, in a specific commodity, an assessment of a value chain. So let's take an example of Bihar, for instance, and lychees which have an opportunity. So here government might be a stakeholder where they might invite CII to say, help us understand what the opportunities are in this specific commodity. Or it could be in mangoes in Andhra Pradesh. So going down within your state, what are your high value commodities where certain assessments can be done and recommendations can be made. The second area that we have is basically in capacity building, and our primary portfolio of work is training services in the area of food safety. So here we have trained counselors, experienced counselors who go out and work individually with companies to help them assess what are their current gaps, what should be the implementation plan, and how do they get certified. So helping, for example, to get to ISO 9000 certification is one example. And there are several such modules, and I'll take you through them in more detail. So we're also building training in the area of post-harvest management. So for example, how should I handle fruits and vegetables after we have bought them, whether you use crates, whether it's how you store them, what kind of conditions they should be stored in. There is also training that we are developing in that domain. Our third area is really doing projects on the ground. So here, for instance, we have projects where in certain states of the country, presently in West Bengal and Bihar, we are working with farmers, about 8,000 farmers, to be able to implement different business models. So, for example, in Bengal, the commodity in focus is bananas, where we are bringing in a private sector company who wants to build their own supply chain of bananas, and FACE is bringing in the aspects of understanding what are the issues, what is the training that needs to be given to farmers, bringing in technical partners, and managing that entire project. So this again can be proposals that we can develop for you as you go to your state governments on attracting more investment and implementing projects on the ground. Our final area, of course, is in best practice and innovation, and this is quite aligned with everything that we already do, which is holding the multi-stakeholder platforms, lots of workshops with universities, whether they're agricultural universities or food processing, food technology universities, to showcase best practice. Now, the challenge in the sector is a lot of the technology that is present is not necessarily commercialized. And that is one of our challenges. How do we get industry to be more effectively engaged with universities? So if, for example, say Punjab Agricultural University has 8 new technologies that they would like to showcase, this then becomes an opportunity for us to map the companies that could be interested and try and facilitate those joint collaborations. So all the indigenous technology that we have within the universities is actually being commercialized and scaled by companies. So that broadly is the service portfolio. I'll now move on to give you a few examples of the kind of work that's being done. I hope all of you have had an opportunity to see the FIDA report that was done last year. This is essentially the Food and Agriculture Integrated Development Action Plan, something that CII has been working on for the last 12 years. So this particular one was, however, in partnership with McKinsey, and this was the 3rd edition. So if some of you, for example, may not be fully familiar with agriculture, you might be handling several different committees, for instance, and if you don't have a copy of this report, please reach out to my office so we can get you copies of this report, because it lays out a roadmap for the sector and what kind of interventions are needed. You can share this with your state governments, you can share this with industry members, and wherever states have an interest, we have even spoken to partners to say we can come and build a state level roadmap for you. So for example, if Haryana is interested in building an agriculture roadmap, then FACE can come in along with you and bring in other partners to build that state level roadmap. So this again becomes a service offering that you can take across to various people. In addition to this, we have certain trackers in place. So we have a monthly policy tracker that we share with industry. If you haven't seen this before, or if you do not receive this on a monthly basis, I know some of you have moved on to different roles. Please send me an email so we can ensure you on the distribution list. This is something that you can share with your membership on a monthly basis. It has key announcements and policy and investments in agriculture. Our second area is capacity building. So far FACE has trained about 8,000 people in 60 different locations across the country. Our training programs are in the tea sector, coffee sector, spices, bakery, fruits and vegetables. So we have custom training programs in these various sectors. We also have programs which are based on warehousing, transportation, retail. But I'll spend a couple of minutes talking to you about the CII Food Safety Award. So this is the 4th year that we're running this award. And this is an award that covers not just small enterprise and large companies, but also includes street food vendors. So it's a very inclusive award. The chairman of the Food Safety Authority has been at every award recognizing winners. And it has become a very good platform for companies that aspire to gain this visibility and recognition. So here again, if you're not aware of this award, we will send across information to you. The information is up on the FACE website, but if you haven't seen it, we can specifically send across information to you, and you can ask your members, that you work with to apply if they are interested. Similarly, here at FACE, we've had a lot of collaborations and partnerships. There is a food training program that we offer in partnership with IIT Kharagpur. So, candidates actually spend 2 weeks in Kharagpur where they get trained on chemistry and food technology. We then have a project that they do within the industry. And finally, a whole series of e-learning and webinars that our food safety counselors offer, so that over these 5 months, they become fully equipped in the area of food safety. We have run 2 batches, and the 3rd batch will actually be running in the month of November. So this again can be something that you can share with your membership to see if they would like to go through, nominate people for these programs. Some of you we've already worked with in FSSAI. There is a new licensing regime that's in place, so awareness workshops which we've done across the country. And we did these across about 14 or 15 different states last year. But if you still think there is a need or there is more clarity, we would be quite happy to facilitate that. Here again, I won't go into detail, but one more example of what we're offering is in the spices sector, where we're doing training programs now with farmers, horticulture officials, and industry on training them on exactly the on-farm practices that they should follow for spices, especially if they would like to export, and then the practices they need to follow within their factories and the compliance that is required from an export standpoint. You know, some of you might have been reading the news lately, a lot of ban on Indian mangoes being exported. Spices as well, the US has raised concern in terms of, you know, various strains of salmonella being found. So our endeavor is to handhold the industry here so they become aware of changing international regulation, and we provide them with the handholding and capacity that they need. So this would be of particular interest to a lot of the states in the south where you have a lot of your spice exporters based. This is in partnership with the Spices Board, Ministry of Commerce, and along with the University of Maryland in the US. So this is how the 3 partners came together to put this training program together. I talked to you briefly about the CII National Award for Food Safety. So you've seen a dramatic increase in the number of companies that have benefited through this. Also significant increase in the rise in the number of award applicants. So it is building a lot of visibility, and this is something really I need your support to be able to make this a national movement so that we're aligned and we're creating this culture of food safety across the country. Certain new projects that are planned this year. One is in the area of safe street food. So currently CII is talking to the Food Safety Authority of how we can work with street food vendors and upgrade them in terms of the hygienic practices that they follow. So here again, if you find that, you know, some of your state governments have an interest in partnering, FSSAI, which is the Food Safety Standards Authority here, would be very happy to support state governments. And we can bring in resources there to be able to train local street food vendors in partnership with your state government. Similarly, another focus area is the midday meal scheme. Here again, if any of the state governments have an interest to upgrade, you know, the midday meal kitchens or people that are involved in this process, the Food Safety Standards Authority is willing to look at a partnership with the state government and with FACE to come in and provide some degree of training and handholding. So the reason I'm highlighting some of these is to be able to give you an opportunity to take certain offerings and services back to your state governments. So whether it's on safe street food, whether it's on upgrading the, you know, the midday meals, food safety standards, capacity building that we can do there, whether it's with industry that is exporting, these all become options and offerings that you can take across. I spoke to you again about projects. So I'll skip this one, which is on nutrition, but it's an example of how we're looking at you know, voluntary fortification of edible oil. So edible oil is something that is, you know, consumed in most households. Given our nutrition levels and how malnourished a lot of our population is, we're doing a project to explore how we could fortify edible oil voluntarily as industry to be able to work towards this agenda of nutrition. I also talked to you about the Rural Business Hub program. So this is running in West Bengal and Bihar, where we're working with 8,000 farmers. It actually works on on-farm practices, supporting post-harvest infrastructure. Most important is bringing the private sector to work with the farmers. So getting private sector to work and directly buy from farmers so that farmers are able to provide the quality they need and in turn get a better price. And of course get the handholding on the right inputs, whether it's seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and practices that they need to follow. So these are again examples. This was funded by USAID, and there was some support that came in from certain companies. But again, if in your states, if you think your state governments might be interested in, trying to look at different business models, working with the farm community and private sector, please reach out to us. We would be happy to work with you to be able to support and build proposals that you can then take back to the state government. So just a glimpse of just showing you the kind of work on the ground. So we have 17 demonstration plots up in various states, farmer producer companies with almost 4,000 members that we're operationalizing, and actually getting farmers to adopt new kinds of technology and looking at tissue culture, for instance, in one case. Again, this is a glimpse of certain activity that's happening on the ground. So I hope this gives you some sort of idea of the kind of ways you can get involved in taking this work forward, because we have a team now that is equipped with the skills to be able to manage these projects for you. And what we need is an interest and each of you championing these with your state governments. So these are glimpses of how we have done surveys with the farming community, some amount of training programs that have happened across various parts of the country. Finally, some examples of new projects that we're working on this year. So here, in the area of capacity building, we're developing new services in supply chain management for food companies, also post-harvest management activity. There are several different projects that we are pursuing. One is in the state of Assam to look at spices. The other is to look at Africa and look at Indian innovation moving to Africa for certain companies. So for example, you might have tractor companies like Escorts or Mahindras, etc. And they might be looking to access markets in Africa. So how do they set up their services and showcase them in these countries? So these are again projects that we're working on. Finally, nutrition is a new area that we have ventured into. So looking at partnerships there with different private sector are the kinds of programs we're working on. This is just now a glimpse of various activities of the work we have been doing. So innovation, like I said, is a key focus. There are several other efforts on sustainability as well, where we work with various partners on this front. Farmer felicitation, recognizing farmers for their work, and you can see this has happened in a lot of in a lot of the states locally. So all this really gets delivered out of the states, and this is where I would like you to reach out to us with ideas that you think can support you better, and where we have capacity to please leverage that and showcase that. This is the Food Safety Quality Award. Dairy is another sector we extensively work in. So this sort of sums up for you. I just wanted to give you a flavor of the kinds of activities and the services that we're currently doing. And we can now take questions. Even if you want to come back subsequently with questions or queries, I'll be happy to take them through email or calls as well. But I think for now, what we can do is, if you have any questions that are typed up, we'll have a look at those and we'll try and answer those.
Yes, thank you, Mitu. And now the floor is open for questions. You can key in your queries in the questions window that is provided on the right side of your screen.
Any questions at this point? Please type them into your window panes. And if there are no questions, you can also say that there are no questions. You can type that in, just so that we know if how long we need to keep the session open. Any questions at all? It doesn't look like there are any questions. So what we can do is, if you have any thoughts subsequently, please reach out to us, and we'll be quite happy to be able to answer them one-on-one or through email. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you found this useful. This will be available online, like Mr. Rao has said, and reach out to the team if you need any support. Thank you.